Good day, leaders. Thank you for joining me in designing the playbook. Today, I will be sharing the foundational aspects of strategic planning, the things that you need to know in order to put together a strat plan. So, what is the purpose of a strat plan? Let us start with that. Well, the purpose of a strat plan is to determine where an organization is currently, where it is going over the next several years, how it's going to get there, and how it will know when it gets there. So you have this new organization or an existing one. You're looking at where you are now and what the trajectory is going to be and how you are going to get to that place that you've decided this is what we want our future to be. This is how we're going to get there. That's the purpose of a strat plan. It's helping you to create that framework. So let's talk a little bit about the framework and what it's going to look like. So in this framework for success, in your strategic framework, the first thing you have is your vision, your future, what the end result is going to be in 3 or 5 years. Then you're looking at your mission. This is why you exist. It defines what you do now, the gap that you are filling. Then you look at your values. This is who you are and what's important to you as an organization in order for you to achieve the vision and the mission that you've created for yourself. Then we have our strategies, and this is the part that I know everybody's all excited about. The strategies, that big, large, looming framework that zero in on your key success approaches. And what your strategy does is that it guides your decision making. This is how we're going to do things. And so when you come across difficulties, you refer to your strategy to say, is this the approach that we've agreed is the best approach for us? And it's easier for you to make decisions. Once you've decided your strategy and how you're going to do things in the various areas of your organization, then you look at your goals and your action plans, and these guide your daily, weekly, and your monthly actions. So you have your large picture and then you break it down. And what's important to note is that this applies to everyone. So if we were looking at this in a pyramid, for example, if you look at the chart now, you will see that at the very top, we have the mission, why we exist. You have to have clarity about that. And then the values, what's important to us, and the vision, what we want to be. Those are what we call the foundation. So if we were actually to flip our pyramid upside down and put, these would be the base, the foundation. We have them at the top because they are the most important, right? But they are the foundation. You can't do anything else without first knowing what is your mission, what is your vision, what are the values that define who you are, how you want to be, what you want to be known for. When you have clarity about that, your strategy is what will get you there. It tells you the framework that will take you to that vision that is important to you. And then you have to measure this to know whether or not you are on the right track, if you're doing the things that you say you want to do, your measurement. So I have balanced scorecard on this form, but there are so many other types of measurements that you can use to determine your KPIs. So balanced scorecard, just note, is only one. It's not the only one. It may not even be the best one. It's just an example. But you now have your strategy, you have your goals. You now need to implement these plans. And I'm tying implementation with personal plans because it doesn't matter what field you're in, what industry you're in. Once you have your overarching goals, your large plans, those are broken down into goals for every single member of your organization. So let us say, for example, you were in the medical services, you're in the hospital, and one of your goals has to do with patient care. Everybody in the hospital, even if you're an accountant, that goal, or you're the person that wipes the floor, and you may think neither of those two roles relate to patient care, except they do. Patient care is not just about the doctor taking care of the patient. It's also about having things done quickly and seamlessly so you can leave the hospital with an overall good feeling. And if you're the person that cleans the floor, it's about how do I feel being in there in this institution, and is it clean and things like that. So all the goals trickle down to every single member of staff. And if everybody does what they're supposed to do, the strategy is achieved, the vision is achieved. So we mentioned the elements of the Strat plan. So we're going to talk about looking at it if it were on an axis. So let's say you have your X and your Y axis, and you have time. In time, now we are looking at our SWOT analysis. Where are we now? And our Porter's 5 forces, and we'll talk about that a little later. Where are we now? We have to look at what are our strengths, our weaknesses, what are the opportunities, what are the threats in our organization today. Then we have to think about where would we like to be in 1 year, in 3 years, in 5 years. That's our future. That's our vision. And then we have to think about what is the vehicle that is going to be taking us there. So for the purposes of this training, I'm going to be calling that vehicle Company A to Z. So Company A to Z is the vehicle that is going to be taking us to our vision. The mission is the gap that we fill today. So I've gone through some of that. Then I want us to think about what is the context in which the organization is operating, and what is the problem that we are solving with our vision, right? The strategy is the overall plan to get us there, and it involves our goals and our objectives and an action plan. And as I said before, we have to evaluate. We always have to look to see whether or not we're doing the things that we want to do, that we intend to do. So let's start with the end in mind. I like to say, because I say if I know what my goal is, what my end result is, I can work back ways and decide what I need to do today and how I need to build to achieve that goal. So our vision is our big picture. That's the end. And when you create your vision, it's a shared and meaningful purpose. It's exciting. If you know the big picture, it is way easier to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So your vision, it may be written, it may be unwritten. For the purposes of this training, we are going to write out our vision, but I just wanted you to know that it's possible for you to have a vision and it's not written. It's an unstated vision, kind of like an unwritten constitution, which is what England has, for example. So when you're thinking about your vision, I want you to think about what are you going to be remembered for? What's the legacy, right? I want you to think of something specific. So when you're writing your vision, you want to inspire passion and interest. You want people to get excited, and you want to ensure that the values that are going to follow are consistent with what is in your vision, right? So your legacy, your future goal, aspirational, answers the questions, why do we do what we do? And clearly, it's not something that we're going to achieve today. It's a long range picture of how the world will be if you're successful. So you're thinking not about what you're doing right now, but what is it going to look like in 5 years? It has to be large. It has to be something that you have to work towards, and it has to be something that when other members of your team, other members of your organization hear it, they get excited about it. They want to be a part of this. So some examples of vision statements. So your vision statement can be something that's a concept, or it can be something that you want to be the best at. So I have 2 examples. I have Tesla, which says to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Lofty, but it's an idea. It's not that they want to be the best at something. They just like the idea of moving things ahead and progress and innovation. And that's the idea that's behind Tesla. Whereas Amazon is more focused on being the best. So their vision is to be Earth's most customer-centric company, where companies can find and discover anything they may want to buy online. I think that when Amazon workers go there and they think about helping customers to find anything they want to buy online, literally, you can find anything you want to buy online. It's there, and Amazon is the place. Amazon has now become that place. When you think of where do you want to find something to buy online, you go to Amazon. In the same way, Google is when you want to look up something, you go to Google, right? So these vision statements have inspired workers. Tesla is now one of the leading car companies as it relates to electric vehicles, and it's because of how inspiring and the values that they share. So we're going to share some of these as we go through this training. So think about now, as an exercise, I want you to pause this video and write the vision statement that you would like for company A to Z. So whatever your company is, what is the vision statement that you would like for this company? What's your big picture? Where would you like to see this company in 5 years, in 3 years? Write your vision statement. Remember, it can be an idea or it can be something that you'd like to be the best at. But whatever it is, it must be aspirational. You have to work at it. It must be something that is exciting, that motivates people. All right, great. Let's move on to the mission. The mission now are the pieces of the puzzle that gives us that big picture. It's what we are doing now. Again, it's why you exist and the need that you are fulfilling in the market, in the industry in which you operate. What's the gap that by you being there, you fill that gap? So this drives how you get to the big picture and the form that it takes. This is your day-to-day, what you do every day in order to get to that big picture, in order for that lofty goal that is your vision to be achieved. This is your mission. So why you exist, your core purpose. It answers what you do, and sometimes it answers how you do it. So what you do, how you do it, the need that you are fulfilling today, the gap that if you cease to exist, there becomes a hole in the market. People are clamoring for this service. So let's go back to the two examples that we did before. Remember, we said Tesla was the idea and Amazon was the quality they wanted to be the best at. So for Tesla, their mission, why they exist, the gap that they're filling today, is to create the most compelling car company of the 21st century by driving the world's transition to electric vehicles. I think we can say that when you think of electric vehicles, most people think of Tesla. Amazon, we strive to offer our customers the lowest possible prices, the best available selection, and the utmost convenience. How convenient is it to just press a button and there you find not just one but several options of a product at different prices, and you can select the best price of that same product without even moving, without even leaving your home, without wherever you are. If you're on the road and you have a smartphone, you can look it up. That's why they exist, to provide that convenience and to provide that quality of service and that range of service. So these are the examples of their mission statements, and we can see how these things translate into how the two companies actually exist and operate. So for your exercise now, again for company A to Z, I'd like you to stop this recording and write, what purpose does company A to Z fill? Why do you exist? What is the gap that you are filling in the marketplace? What is that thing that people need that you can provide? And if you don't provide it, nobody else will in the way that you can. That's your mission. All right, so we move on to core values. And core values is the glue. I call it the glue that holds the puzzle pieces together. So you have your mission, which are the pieces of the puzzle. You have your vision, which is the completed puzzle when it's all said and done. And then you have your core values, which is the glue that holds that puzzle together. It's who we are as an organization. It's who we need to be in order for our mission to translate into our vision. It's the way that we need to operate. It's what drives us. It's what gets us going, right? So what are some of these things that are core values? So, as I said before, it's your internal compass. It tells what is and what isn't important. And it's the lens through which we evaluate the world and we make the decisions as an organization. We have a legacy that we want to leave behind as a company A to Z. What is that legacy? Our core values are what will tell people what's important to us. And now more than ever, people are looking at that. They want to see who you are as an organization and what is the value that you bring to the table, right? They want to see that you are living out your core values. So these are not just nice things that you put on a wall, but there are things that have to speak to the way you operate, who you are. You don't want to be that company that has integrity on their wall and then you're in the news every day because of fraud, because of scamming, because of all kinds of things. Then your values are not really true values. They're just words that you put up there so everybody can feel good about them, because integrity is one that is used and used and used a lot. But what we need to do to go beyond just writing these values is we need to say, what does this look like for us? So that's how we get the blueprint to achieve the mission and vision. When we not just say what the values are, but we say, what do they look like? What do these values, when people see them, they say, yes, they're living out their values. So example of Tesla: doing the best, taking risks, respect, constant learning, environmental consciousness. I would say that they take a lot of risks, and there is certainly respect for them. People may not like them, people may not like what they do, but they respect the changes that they've brought to the market. But the one that I want to touch on is environmental consciousness. Recently, or last year, Elon Musk took a decision through Tesla to invest in Bitcoin. It was announced. Well, environmental consciousness is one of their core values, and persons were really, really upset about that. Why? Not so much because they're opposed to the concept of Bitcoin, but because in order for Bitcoin to function in the way that it does currently, it consumes a lot of energy and it defies the value of environmental consciousness. So when they were challenged with that, they had to withdraw their position and say they are going to look into how they can have Bitcoin being done in an environmentally conscious way. So that's what values does. It allows persons to hold you accountable to what you say you believe, and based on your response, people will know whether those values are just nice things that you write or things that you genuinely believe and are living out. Amazon, theirs is customer obsession, passion for invention, commitment to operational excellence, and long-term thinking. And with Amazon, with their customer obsession, how many of you have ever had to return something for whatever reason, and it was so easy to get it done on Amazon versus in some other instances where there is a long explanation and drama that you have to go through in order to return a product or to exchange a product? Their customer obsession, they want to make things as seamless and as easy for you, the customer, as possible. And that's how Amazon has become as huge as it is today. So your exercise is to identify 5 core values that will support the vision and mission of company A to Z. I want you to prioritize them, but also I want you to list the behaviors, the actions that demonstrate each of these values. So let me give you an example. Let us say that your value is progress. Well, what does that mean? How do I know if I am being progressive, if I'm doing something that is progressive. The word progress or being progressive means something different to everybody. And in an organization, we want to ensure that everyone is on the same page as it relates to what our values are and what they mean. So for progress, you could say something like, we implement every day, or as frequently as possible, changes and in our processes and in our people. Or if you want to be more specific, you can say we implement improvement. We make our processes better. We make our people better. We improve ourselves and our processes and our products and our services every single day. We are always seeking ways to improve. That would be a way of defining progress. So if you're going to say, well, I'm a progressive person, I find ways to improve. And my follow-up question to you as an observer based on that is, well, how did you improve this process? Or how did you improve as a person? What have you done that's different? What did you learn? How did you apply it? So we want to ensure that our values have stated definitions, have stated defined behaviors, that we can implement and that persons can hold us accountable to. All right, so pause this recording and do this exercise. All right, so now we move on, and I want you to think about maybe your company A to Z, is within a group of companies, or maybe it's just a company in the market, or maybe you're a department and we're calling you company A to Z. I want you to think about, where do you fall where you are now? So are you a core unit where you are doing amazingly well and things are going as they ought, and you are on top of your game and you are number one? Are you that organization? Or are you playing a supporting role to another, a subsidiary, or to a parent body or something? Is that your role? Or are you what we call a cankerous sore, where persons are complaining about you, clients are complaining, your employees are complaining about you day and night? They hate this organization, company A to Z. Where do you currently fall? And I want you to think about that, because you know what? You decide where you fall. What you are today is not equal to what you will be tomorrow or the day after. So you could be a core unit today. You could be the best thing since sliced bread. And tomorrow, because you're resting on your laurels, because you're so happy with your performance and you're giving yourself a pat on the back, you lose that core unit status and you become cankerous, because you haven't changed how you operate, because you don't respond to change, because you don't anticipate market needs, because your clients and your employees, they don't feel you, they don't feel that you're proactive, they don't feel that you listen to them. All those things change your status from where you are today to where you could be tomorrow. So let us say you are a cankerous sore. Let us say you are the worst organization ever in life, in the world, ever. You're just so bad. You don't have to remain a cankerous sore. You can change, and you decide how you change, right? So this process helps you to move from where you are now to where you would like to be. But I'd like you to identify where you are now. And how we do this is with our SWOT analysis. So, I'm sure most of us are familiar with a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And it guides you to identify the positives and the negatives inside your organization. Those are your strengths and weaknesses. And what is outside of your organization, your external environment, the opportunities and the threats. So look at your organization. Think about where you are now. What are the strengths? What is good about your organization? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What is not good, or maybe what is horrible about your organization? What are the opportunities outside of your organization based on where you are now? And These are opportunities that you may not be prepared for right now, but you could be prepared for. And what are the threats external to the organization that could threaten your existence? Think about those things. Another way that you could look at it is, once you've written your strengths and your weaknesses and your opportunities and your threats, what is we call it the TOES matrix. So using your opportunity and strength, think of the strengths that you have. What can you take advantage of? What opportunity exists that you can take full advantage of because of the strength of your organization right now? What strengths do you have that you can use to avoid threats that are in the marketplace that you recognize are there and you can avoid them? How do you overcome weaknesses by taking advantage of opportunities that are in the marketplace? And how do you minimize some of these weaknesses by avoiding threats? This is another way that you can look at it. All right. So for your company, A to Z, I would like you to do a complete SWOT analysis. And having written out, I just want you to just brainstorm and write everything, all your strengths, all your weaknesses, all the opportunities that you can think of, and all the threats. And then I want you to go through that list and identify the top 5 for each category. Prioritize them. So pause this recording and go through your SWOT analysis. Okay, next on the list is Porter's 5 forces model. And what we're looking at is, how attractive is the industry in which you operate? How attractive is that industry? Should you stay in this industry or should you look elsewhere? So you are examining where you fit into this picture and whether or not it makes sense for you to stay in this industry or do something else. So let's start with the bargaining power of suppliers. We're in an era of technology where just about everything that we do has some technological input in it. How different is it from one supplier to the next when you are buying these different items or whatever your input is for your company? How different is it? How different is it from one to the other? The next thing I want you to think about is, if I choose a different supplier, will their product work with what I have, right? Is their product compatible with what I'm currently using? Or when I'm switching, am I going to have to switch out everything? What's the cost of that going to be for me? The relationship that you have with these suppliers, are they in the driver's seat or are you in the driver's seat? Are you a small consumer? And so because of that, you just have to take whatever you get. Is this the only supplier of this product? And so they can dictate the pricing. What about how this supplier fits into the larger market? Are they a small person? Are they a large player in the industry? So you have to look at the different things that will influence the supplier's ability to bargain with you as it relates to your cost. Then you have to look at the bargaining power of your consumers, your customers, the people that you are now having and selling to. What is their bargaining power? Do you have a wide market and you can pick, choose, and refuse the number of customers that you have? Is the volume that you have in your industry the largest, or are there just so many out there? What about if the customer switches from you to another player or from another player to you? Is there a prohibitive cost? And so you are more in control of bargaining than they are because the cost to change is so much more? Or can you negotiate to bring them over because your fees are so much less? These are some of the things. Price sensitivity. Are they going to leave you because you go up or down by $1? Does that matter that much to them? These are things that you want to consider. How much power does your customer have? And when you're thinking about your relationship to your suppliers, look at yourself from that perspective as well. As the consumer, how much power do you have with that supplier? Not just how much power they have, but how much power you have. And also here, as a supplier, how much power do you have? So you have to kind of balance it. Then I want you to think of the threat of new competitors. Are you in an industry where to enter this industry, it costs so much that for you to come in and make an impact that it is prohibitive, right? Are there proprietary differences between what you offer versus your competitors or your potential competitors? Again, switching cost is always a factor. If a new company comes in, will your customers quickly leave and go to that new provider of your product or service? What is your brand identity? Are you a known entity in the market? Do people identify with you and the products and services that you offer in an amazing and excited way, or do they when they hear your name? So these are things that you want to weigh. Where do you fall? What goodwill do you have? In terms of policies, are there legal requirements to enter, and are those prohibitive as well? So you think about those things. Will you be having multiple entrants in the market, or maybe just one or two players that may not impact how you are performing? Then you want to think of the threat of substitutes. What else is out there that could replace what you have? And is there an advantage price-wise, you versus them? Again, switching cost is always a factor. And what is the propensity of your consumer to leave at the first sign of trouble? That's something to think about, especially when you have very slim margins. How will that affect you? And what does that mean for you and how you need to operate if they will quickly leave you? All right, so that's a threat of substitute, threat of competitive rivalry. So how quickly is your industry growing? How quickly are your competitors growing? Are you growing within this industry in which you operate? What is the cost structure, the ratio of the cost to the value that you add? Is it really expensive for the slightest addition, or can you add a lot of value to your clients and it doesn't cost you that much? That is very important, because value added is the buzzword for consumers. People want to know that they're getting more, that there is value being added to them if they have to pay more. And they want to see that the ratio of what they're paying is not up here, whereas the ratio of what they're getting is down here. You know, it needs to be a little more closely aligned, or they need to feel that they're getting so much more for what they're actually paying. So you need to think about, how does that cost structure look, and how will you be able to operate moving forward? Are things going to get better? Are things going to get worse? How do you plan for those things? So Porter's 5 forces: threat of competitive rivalry, threat of substitutes, threat of new competitors, the bargaining power of your customers, and the bargaining power of your suppliers. Think about those things. Pause this recording and do the next exercise. Actually, let's talk about the context and the problem statement before we do the exercise. So let's look at the context. What is the demographic of the population you have right now as your client, or that you are trying to attract? You want to think about where you are. Remember, these are all things we're looking at the now. What is happening in our situation, in our company, A to Z right now. So who do you have as clients? What's the demographic? Who are you trying to attract? What is the current state of the economy in which you operate? And what are the projections for, let's say, the next year and the next 5 years? What is a growth forecast for your specific industry? You know, so let us say you were in hospitality, for example. Do you expect an explosion of travel in the next year or two that's going to fill up your hotels or cause lots of persons to be traveling or to be buying things? Does it affect consumerism, persons buying more and more things? In your industry, what are you expecting? What are you anticipating? What about your operating considerations? What has happened? What has changed in your market that has caused you to operate differently? And what do you anticipate is going to happen in the short term? This is your context, right? You're looking at, how are we functioning now, and how do we think this is going to change? Then I want you to consider now your problem statement. Looking at your organization, or if you're looking at this from a departmental perspective, what is the problem the key issue that you are facing that you need to address in order to achieve where you're going to be in your vision? Is it that you have too few of a positive condition, too few of something, or is it that you have too much of a negative condition? What is that problem that you are facing right now that you need to address? So that is what we're going to look at. And in this exercise, you need to first look at your Porter's 5 forces model, analyze company A to Z, and then once you have done that, once you have written out what are your threats, what are your the bargaining powers of the different persons, then you can see a clearer picture of what the context for your company is, and you can write that. And it will also give you an idea of what your problems are, or what that good thing is that you need more of, and you can define and write that problem statement. So now you can actually pause the recording and do this exercise. Porter's 5 forces model, the context for company A to Z, and the problem statement that your strategic plan will address. That will take you to your vision. All right, so we are moving on, and we are now talking about strategies. And you've heard of the red ocean strategy and the blue ocean strategy. So what are these things? So in the red ocean strategy, I think that is mostly how we operate. We exist in this market space, and we're trying to beat the competition, and we're looking at what they're doing, and we're saying, how can we do that a little bit better? And then we're saying, okay, we need to differentiate from what they're doing. Or we need to just provide this low cost item, and that they can't compete with, and that gives us a competitive advantage. And then we segment our existing customers to say, you are over here and you are over here, and we try to exploit the demand that exists. The blue ocean strategy is a completely out of the box kind of thinking. It's where you are creating something new, something different. You are creating a market space that did not exist before. So by doing that, you're making the competition irrelevant. They cease to exist because what you are creating, it doesn't exist. You're the only one with it. And by doing that, you are differentiating yourself. But what we are saying in Blue Ocean Strategy is not only that you should differentiate, but you should do it in a way where you will have the lowest cost. To do that, you're adding so much value to your customers that the price point is low compared to the value that you add. And in doing this, even persons who weren't customers before, they're seeing this innovation, they're seeing this value addition, they're seeing the value relative to the cost, and they are attracted to you as an organization. And so you are not only transferring your existing customers, but you are creating new demand. So how do we develop this blue ocean strategy? What are the actions that we take? So in developing the blue ocean strategy, we say we do 4 things, 4 actions. The first is we raise beyond the industry standard. So if the industry standard is here, in the blue ocean strategy, we go here, here, here. We create a difference. We raise the standards. So let us say that your standard is that you make 1 mistake per day. That's a standard in the industry. Well, by raising that standard, we would say we don't make 1 mistake a day. We make 1 mistake every 3 days. That's the level of perfection that we are working towards. So I don't know what it is for your industry, but for whatever that is, how do you raise that standard? And you identify what that standard is. And it has to be something that you should think is within your ability to do that. What's a standard that you could raise beyond the industry standard because of the strengths that you have and because of the opportunities that have presented themselves? So then the next action that you could take is that you create something that the industry never offered. Maybe you do that by bundling something together that nobody else could do. Let's look at the creation of the iPhone. That was bundling a phone and a camera in one instrument, something that never existed before, and something that, quite frankly, even when market research was done, persons were like, who wants a camera on a phone? Nobody thought it would be a thing, And today, persons can't function without a phone and a camera, or without a camera in their phone. So you create something that the industry never offered, and you present it in a way that persons can see the value, the difference that it will make in their lives. Because that's what you're not just going to create something for the sake of creating it. You're creating it because it will make their life easier. So the question you're asking yourself is, in my industry, in my organization, what could we do that would create so much value that doesn't currently exist, that would make our customers' lives so much better? That's what you go and think about, and that's what you go and produce. That's the creating. The next action you could take is reducing. What factors should be reduced way below the industry standard? So what would be an example for that? I guess we could reverse the raise and reduce. I raised the standard, but maybe that was really reducing it. Maybe an output factor would be something more where we're increasing what we are producing, which is more than what the industry produces, and then we're reducing the number of mistakes, which is below the industry standard. So the industry standard is 1 per day, and we're saying 1 per week, something like that. So one is a more positive outlook, and one is, what is something that is like a cost, or something that we want to reduce, or something that is a negative thing that we want to drop. All right, eliminate. What factors should be eliminated that the industry has taken for granted? So what exists now that you really don't need, that you could just take it out? It's a cost. It doesn't really need to be there. It doesn't add value to your clients. It doesn't add value to your customers. It's just a cost that the company bears. It's no good. What is that thing that if you could just remove it altogether, and it wouldn't make a difference other than it would make everybody else's life much better? Think about that. So those are the 4 actions to create a blue ocean. Right now, I'd like you, as usual, to pause this recording and to create a blue ocean strategy for company A to Z by using the 4 actions that create new value. What are those things? Think about one thing or a couple things under each of those action steps that your company could do that would create value for your consumers, for your customers, for your clients. All right, so we have an idea of what our big picture is, of what our strategy. We're not writing our strategy now, we're just getting our ideas and our thoughts in order. So we have looked at our SWOT. We know where we are now. We have looked at our Porter's 5 forces. We have an idea of what our threats are externally, whether it is from our competitors or from our suppliers in terms of their bargaining power, how our customers can bargain with us, whether there are new entrants coming into the market, whether the products that we're using are easily substituted for other things. What is our goal now? What is our big plan? So we have to think about our different heads, or different organizations, or different departments rather, within our organization. What are the different things that we need to be doing in order for us to address the things that came up in our strategy thinking and to move us closer to our vision? So our goal is a clear statement of the accomplishment to be achieved if the mission is to become real. If our mission is true, if we do this, this is the outcome. And the objectives are the specific activities that are required to achieve those goals. It makes a difference between where you are now and where you'd like to be. So as an example, let's use hospitality again. So you want to be the standard of customer service in the hospitality industry by 2026. That's your big goal. That's your larger than life. This is where we want to be in the next 4 years. So your objective then is, in order for that to be true, we need to win the following awards for the next 4 consecutive years if we are going to call ourselves the standard in the industry by this time. And these are some specific awards that are handed out by the World Travel Awards or different areas in customer service and hospitality. So you determine what your objective is. What are the actions that you need to take? What are the specific things that you need to achieve in order for that big picture goal to be realized? So I want you to pause. Again, this is a final exercise, taking into consideration all the exercises that you've done before, all the things that we've discussed. What are the 3 broad goals and the objectives that support those goals that would bring company A to Z closer to achieving its vision? Think of the top 3 things based on all the things that you've written down. Just look at them. What jumps out at you? What do you need to do in order to achieve that vision that you have written for yourself? Take a few minutes to write that down. Pause the recording. And it is over. Thank you for participating in this training, and it's a pleasure, and I look forward to meeting you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.